Chapter 47. It was a story that didn't make sense in any conventional sense, but then again, being dead and returning to the past was already far removed from the realm of common sense. Yudhir pulled his hand away from his now calm head, the headache having subsided. Gradually, the light was seeping in through the window. He was not likely to sleep any more, so he seemed better to get washed early. However, the moment he saw the small table set up in the room, the image of Kishir from his dream unexpectedly resurfaced in his mind. Red eyes staring at him as he sat quietly at the desk. Although he had claimed to be free of regret, the look in his eye would have been impossible to believe for anyone who saw it. What exactly was the emotion wavering in those eyes? Had that really happened? If something in his memory had been wrong up until now, where was the line between truth and lies? Who dared to meddle with the memories of Yudhir Ale? Yudhir sighed as he wrestled with the unanswered question. Even if that memory was true, everything is different now. This time, Kishir had not received any injuries during the operation to retrieve the red stone. Moreover, he had not used the divine sword when the invaders attacked. The fact that he was the master of the divine sword was still a secret known only to a few. That was enough. So far, Yudhir's objectives were proceeding smoothly. With a firm clench of his fist, he decided to be satisfied with that fact for now. His hand bore a small, purplish bruise. Yesterday, Kishir had told elder siblings Gakane, Khana, and Yudhir to come to where he was staying the morning after breakfast. However, Yudhir couldn't go down to the large dining hall where the cavalry members gathered to eat. 30 minutes before breakfast time began, someone knocked on his door. It was Nathan Zuckerman, as always, his face calm. "The Duke is asking for you." "No?" "Yes." Yudhir had assumed that Kishir had summoned all the cavalry members who had accompanied him on his mission because something urgent had come up. But when he arrived, all he saw was Kishir sitting leisurely, alone in front of a table set for a simple meal. There was no other squad members in sight. "You're here. Sit down." Yudhir waved his hand in a light manner, holding a piece of bread cut into bite-sized pieces. Skewers with meat and vegetables, his demeanor was so casual that, if not for the setting, one might have mistaken it for a picnic. Without realizing, Yudhir turned his head to Nathan standing behind him. Nathan slightly nodded. This meant that Kishir had indeed called for Yudhir alone. With a slight sense of apprehension, Yudhir made his way towards Kishir, surveying his surroundings. He could feel the heavy and tingling aura of the red stone pervading the entire space, but he couldn't see the box containing the stone. It must have been placed somewhere deep inside. "Why have you called for me alone?" "Let's eat first and then talk. You haven't had breakfast yet, have you?" Yudhir looked down at the dishes set before him. He was slightly taken aback, not being able to guess the purpose of the summons, but it was indeed something Kishir would do. Anyway, once Kishir said let's eat and talk, he would keep his word. Yudhir, sensing that further speech would yield no results, sat down before him. "It's all simple food that you can eat. There is no need to mind your manners, so feel free to enjoy. Just so you know, I like the dish that's right in front of me." The dish Kishir indicated with a casual nod was a food skewered with a wooden stick. It was made by grinding various grains into dough, shaped it into a round form, and grilling it. Inside, it filled with a variety of ingredients, making it easy to eat and tasty. While waiting for Yudhir, Kishir had already taken a few, as evidenced by the neatly stacked empty wooden skewers on his plate. Yudhir, looking at it, slowly picked up a skewer as he awkwardly opened his mouth and bit into the well-grilled white lump. A wave of heat spread in his mouth. The dish Yudhir had chosen was filled with meat that had been stir-fried and seasoned with a savory sauce. Despite his lack of appetite due to the nightmare he had the night before, he thought he could manage to eat a decent amount, as the food was not overwhelmingly flavored. Quietly chewing his food, Yudhir caught sight of the red eyes looking at him, smiling as if expecting something. He began to feel a strange sensation. "Do you have something to say? How's the taste?" Yudhir maintained a brief silence. It was difficult to ascertain whether the question was genuinely asking for his opinion about the taste or whether it was a probe for something else. "It's delicious," he responded in a mundane, safe manner, but it wasn't sincere. Yudhir had never really experienced a craving for food in his previous life. To him, there was no significant difference between the soup he ate at the rundown inn where he first met Gakane and the beautifully skewered dish he was eating now. If there was a way to live without eating, he would have been the first to adopt that. "No, not such an insincere answer," Kishore shook his head. "Being my assistant means you have to answer such questions sincerely. Now, answer again. How's the taste?" Yudhir's eyebrows twitched slightly. Surely being an assistant doesn't just involve answering questions about food. Was he just messing around? Anyway, if he wanted such a sincere answer, he could give it. Yudhir pieced together plausible words and spat them out in a lengthy response. Though simple in appearance, one can feel the care and time that went into making it. The flavor is mild and clean, making it suitable for morning meal. I can't express what an honor it is to share such a meal with you, Commander. There, was that all right? He's done as requested, and he thought that would be enough. But Kishore surprisingly shook his head again and suppressed laugh, shaking his shoulders. Disappointing, that's not the answer I wanted. You still don't get it. What was he supposed to understand from a question about taste? Yudhir had never encountered such strange inquiries when he was Kishore's assistant. Of course, Kishore had been a very peculiar person too. But at least he hadn't started off like this from day one of Yudhir's deputyship. Feeling slightly frustrated, Yudhir opened his mouth. I have been indifferent to the taste of food since birth. There's hardly any difference between gruel and gourmet cuisine on my tongue, so whatever I say, I fear it won't satisfy you. That's it? Pardon? That honesty, that's what I wanted. Yudhir blankly stared at Kishore, who was finally nodding with a satisfied expression. Do you really expect the one chewing food with the expression of eating sand to say it tastes good? If it tastes bad, say it tastes bad. If you don't have any appetite, say so. That's what I expect from my assistant. His voice was soft, yet carrying an undeniable weight resonated. Only then did Yudhir comprehend the true intent behind Kishore's persistent questioning. He didn't want to hear a superficial, polite answer. Kishore had used the seemingly light and unexpected medium of a meal to break down the walls Yudhir had erected and draw out his true feelings. It was surprising that such a serious matter lay beneath a seemingly trivial question. His method of making one let down their guard for a moment was brilliant. It was baffling, but at the same point, genuinely admirable. Even knowing that Kishore uses such tactics, I let my guard down. Yudhir blinked and let out a small sigh. In that case, I will stop eating now. I'm not hungry. Ha ha, do as you please, but at least have this juice. Nathan personally squeezed it for us. Kishore laughed heartily, pointing at 2 glasses placed on one side of the table. It was juice made by grinding mixture of vegetables and fruits. Yudhir looked at Nathan, who stood behind him with a stern expression, then lifted his glass and drained it in one gulp. The green juice seemed like it would taste very strange, but it was surprisingly sweet. You are giving me a profound lesson on my first day as an assistant. Is this why you called me first? Not at all. The real matter is this. Kishir, who seemed to be preparing to finish his meal as well, elegantly wiped his mouth with a white cloth and extended his hand towards Nathan. Nathan approached the large desk, picked something up, and respectfully placed it on Kishir's hands. It was a pair of black gloves. Yudhir's expression changed in an instant. You seem surprised. The wound hadn't healed yet, so it needs to be covered. There are special gloves with magic that sticks to the wearer's skin and promotes healing. They won't be damaged even if they get wet or bloody, so wear them without worry. There's no need to thank me for a wound you got while protecting me. He had been thinking that he would need to get a glove anyway. It was fortunate that he didn't have to go out and buy one. But that wasn't why Yudhir was surprised. In his previous life, Kishir often wore such gloves. Among the gloves he wore, there were definitely the one that looked exactly like the one in front of him. The memories from that time, vivid as if he had forgotten them, suddenly came flooding back.